merriment.
Survival for expats.
In the concrete forest.
On Friday nights.
That.
Bitches. Hi, welcome back to You Can't Sit With Us, the weekly show where we get wasted on a Friday night and exploit maybe a little bit more about ourselves than we probably should. This next section that we're going to do is called Two Truths, One Lie, where each of us will tell what it says, two truths and a lie, and the other people have to figure out what the lie is. If they get it wrong, then they have to drink. If they get it right, then I have to drink. So We'll start with Cassie, the one with probably the most colourful life out of all of us.
Okay, wait, fuck. I'm not prepared for this. Okay, you guys know a lot about my life, so I need to think of things.
You are a very much open book.
Right, yeah, I know, fuck.
If Cassie told me she went to jail, I'd believe it. She was like,
okay,
yes,
so
I went on there on a holiday.
I went to jail.
I went to jail. My father was in the armed forces, and I have written most of a cookbook. That was really
I know one.
tame.
I know one truth of that. So tell me more about your jail time.
I was actually I was out for dinner. My helper calls me up. She's like, "The cops are at your door. There's a warrant for your arrest." So obviously I'm panicking. I'm like, "Oh shit!" Like they fucking found out about my international drug smuggling ring. And I was thinking all of this stuff. But then, anyway, so it turns out, well, I called the police station. I'm like, yo, what's happening? I'm out for dinner. Can you stop, like, being so fucking inconvenient? And they were like, oh, don't worry, it's nothing. Just come in tomorrow. I was like, no, you came to my fucking house. Like, tell me what's that about? And it turns out I show up, and they go, oh, you have an unpaid littering fine? I go, right, okay. Well, it turns out some retard had written down, like, the wrong address to me. So I hadn't gotten any of these, like, notifications or whatever. So anyway, yeah, so they put me...
So if they wrote down the wrong address for the notification things, how did they manage to...
They obviously looked up my HK number once they like got through so it was like 5 years ago I dropped a cigarette butt on the ground and like my phone. Anyway, so I was like, well, I'll just pay the fine now. And they were like, okay, well, it's $5,000 now. And I went, oh, fuck. So I called my boyfriend at the time. I was like, oh, can you come, like, give the cops $5,000? He's like, sure, okay, I've got to go to the bank and stuff. So they made me, like, go into, like, a jail cell while I was waiting for him to come back. And I was in there for 8 hours while they fucking processed fucking paperwork and shit. And I'm standing there, I'm pacing up and down. They finally gave me my iPad, so I'd, like, stop bothering them. So I was, like, reading all the graffiti and, like, climbing up on the whole bench they had. They tried to, like, give me, like, food, but it was pork. And I was like, I need a kosher meal. Like, they had enough of me, so they just let me go. I think that's why they let me go.
And tell me about your father in the armed forces. Now, he's Norwegian, right?
He was with the British Armed Forces, intelligence forces. So he was boxing. He also did boxing matches. So he was in Malta and in Gibraltar, and I can't remember where else. And then Palestine, while it was still Palestine, I think. And then, just travelled around, played water polo for them as well. So.
Okay, so my lie, I think the lie is your dad was in the armed forces. What do you think the lie was?
I think it's the jail. I just think she was very creative with the story, but I don't think you were in jail.
Ha! Fuck you guys! You're both wrong. The
cookbook?
I've written some of the cookbook. I said I wrote most of it.
I knew you were writing a cookbook.
Fuckers!
I just know you really like to cook. So
I knew you were writing a cookbook. I didn't know how.
I've been writing it for about 4 years, and I've written down maybe like 5 recipes. So most of it would be a stretch.
Okay, so we both got duped then. Danny, how about you? You've had some time to think about this. Like what?
Okay. I was deported from Ecuador. My ex-boyfriend dumped me when I had E. coli. And my older sister stole my car.
So what do you want to hear this? I want to hear the story of your sister stealing your car.
Okay, so I was 16 and I had just bought my first car because I had been saving up, things like that. It wasn't a great car. It was like the shittiest car you could possibly find. It was like a 92 Honda Civic. But like I was super proud of it because I've been working at a fast food restaurant and I bought this car. And my sister was always kind of like, she just went through like this really bad time. Like she kind of was like into drugs, but she'd go off and on, back and forth. And one day she had to go meet her friend, and she didn't have any way to get there, and she was, kind of high on meth. So she just decided, oh yeah, fuck it, I'm just gonna take Jenny's car. She just got this, so this is like accessible to me. So she just like took the car and drove off, and we didn't see her for 3 days, so we had to report it to the police.
Shit.
Tell me about getting deported from Ecuador.
I was there, it was my second time in Ecuador, and I technically did overstay my visa by about a month, but the thing is, when I had left Ecuador the first time, the US government forgot to stamp my passport saying I'd entered the country again. And then when I arrived in Ecuador the second time, they forgot to stamp my passport saying I had come back. So the Ecuadorian government thought I had been living in the country illegally for 2 years. So they would not let me get on my flight, and they couldn't like check it by scanning it because their computers were down because it's a fucking third world country. That's what happens. So the next day I had to go sobbing to immigration, the police, and they ended up arguing with the airline for me, and like they got me like a comp ticket and things like that.
Oh,
but
nice.
I was technically deported because I overstayed my visa, so I wasn't allowed to return for 9 months.
Wow.
Yeah. What do you think?
I think the sister.
Yeah, I think that's sister too.
I don't have a sister.
Yeah, I knew that you didn't know. I was like, I'm pretty sure she doesn't have a sister. Yeah,
So what is the lie?
The sister.
Oh,
I
so we got it
don't have
right.
a sister.
We got it right?
Yeah, you got it right.
You
got it
said
right.
meth, and I was just like, nah. There's no meth in Minnesota.
Midwest America,
Yeah.
there's a fuck ton of meth.
Is
Really?
there?
Yeah, man.
Is there?
Oh.
I've read Under the Dome. Where was Under the Dome stuff?
I've
They had
never
meth
seen
there. I don't know.
Good. Very good.
I look really tanned compared to you guys, but I'm just really just
Everybody
like
looks
sunburned.
tanned compared to me.
Yeah.
I like how I spend most of the show just admiring myself in the monitor. Let's hear yours, Ali Bongo.
Okay. So the first one is that there's so many ridiculous things that happen in my life. Like I'm like, which one should I choose?
Yeah.
But I'm trying to also be kind of like boring. So the first one is I got deported from America. The second one is that my dad died and then came back to life in a helicopter. And the third one is that I had a pet tortoise as a child, and as it turns out was completely imaginary, but I have actual memories of it.
A what?
A pet tortoise.
Oh,
Tortoise.
tortoise. Okay.
Yeah, but I have actual memories of it and memories playing with it, but it turns out like it didn't exist.
I had one of those experiences as a child, so I'd say, okay, so tell us about getting deported from America.
So it was between university years, and I worked at Disneyland Digido just because they let you. But Disneyland are really, really strict with like rules and stuff. So you're not allowed people from like outside the company to like come stay with you, and you have to like share a dorm. And anyway, this girl that I was sharing a room with brought a boy back. It was a boyfriend, like they've been together for like a long time or whatever. She brought him back, and she got like apparently they thought out like the plan for like ages, but he got caught like by like security in like his car or something. Like I don't really know how they managed to like see him. But yeah, so she got pulled in to like the Disney jury, and she got deported home. She was from Scotland, and then I also did because I was like living with her, and they were like, you both did it, you were conspiring, you did this. And even though I said no, like I didn't, I went into the interview like first to be like, okay, what happened, blah blah blah, and I was like, I don't know, like he was there, I was already like asleep, so yeah, I got deported.
Okay. And your dad coming back to life on the helicopter?
So my dad has like pre-existing like heart conditions anyway, but basically like his heart is too big for his chest, and sometimes it collapses, and that's something that still happens now. But he was in the army. He was teaching, I don't know, army students or whatever they're called, soldiers, something. He had a shock. He fell on the floor, collapsed. They took him in a helicopter to a hospital, and he died whilst he was in the hospital. 11 minutes later, comes back to life. Like dead on the monitors, dead, comes back to life.
Okay, and what was the third one again? Sorry, I've been drinking straight vodka before.
And tortoise that you never actually.
Oh yeah, I did tortoise. I didn't. No.
I call bullshit on the first one.
I call it on your dad because I don't think they let him be in the army if he had a pre-existing heart condition.
You drink.
Yes!
Oh no!
Oh, I'm
You
so
are
good
correct.
at telling when people are lying.
In the
Yeah.
US, they would not allow you to join up.
Yeah, well, they didn't find out that he had a heart condition until he was like in his 30s, and then by then he'd already been a sergeant major. So
Okay.
yeah.
Nice. Yeah, nailed it. God, I'm so
I
smart.
know Disney is very strict though.
Yeah,
They
they're
are.
like hella strict. It was my friend's story that I told. Like that's how she got deported.
Okay. I did have a friend who was deported from America for buying beer for underage kids.
What?
I mean, by underage, I mean like 19, because
That's
you can't drink until
ridiculous.
21.
Yeah, dude, it's the stupidest thing.
He was deported, and his mom is actually from America, so he ended up getting like dual citizenship like a year later. So now he can like go back whenever he wants.
And by everyone underage.
By
also.
everyone
I
here.
just beers for everyone. I've returned.
Goes to an elementary school. It's like vodka for all.
I got you guys these mini bottles from the plane. Woo! Chucking at their
They're
heads.
the perfect size for your hand.
It's like you can't drink normal vodka. That would look ridiculous.
You can't sit with us.
You can't.
Child size vodka.
Child-sized vodka. We got
Good,
5
that was
minutes.
good.
Yeah, that was good.
So one last one. I think you were the best at
yeah.
Yeah.
calling bullshit.
Bullshitting,
So
yeah.
you can tell 3 more lies.
3
Or
more lies.
how about 2 lies, 1 truth?
Okay. So.
I find lies way easier to tell than like things that have actually happened in my life.
Okay, so
Yeah.
when I was at boarding school, I was caught naked in a closet. I'm not going to give context to that until you guys ask me. Second of all, I once drank so much that my heart stopped. And
All of these are plausible.
and third of all, I got into trouble in high school for pushing drugs, not for selling drugs, or pushing drugs.
What does that mean?
So pushing drugs is when you give
being
drugs to
crude.
people and you don't get money from it. So
Ah.
it's like giving away free drugs.
So my first reaction is the truth
Do you want to ask me the stories?
is the heart stop.
The heart stop one, okay.
I think the hard stop one's the lie.
Like, there's 2 lies and 1 truth.
Oh, it's 2 lies and 1 truth.
Yeah.
Oh, so I think the truth one is the naked in the dorm room.
Okay, so let's ask questions. Tell us about the naked in the dorm room then, you exhibitionist.
So I was seeing my friend's older brother while I was in boarding school, and I was actually banned from seeing him because he was like quite a lot older. It was actually
Seeing
really
by
creepy.
like dating.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I was like 14 and he was like
Not just with your eyes, you'd be like, I've seen you.
Yeah, he was like 17, 18, so it was like looking back pretty fucking creepy.
Right.
And yeah, anyway, so at boarding school we had this rule, which was if you had a member of the opposite sex in your dorm, you had to have the door open and 1 foot on the floor at all times, which makes sense if you think about it.
Well, I mean, there's a lot of things you could do with 1 foot
But
on the floor.
we shut the door, and his matron was
There's a
like
lot of things you
knocking.
can do with 2 knees on the floor.
True. Yeah, it's knocking on the door, and I was naked, and I just dove into the closet, and then she actually, I think the coat hanger fell or something, and then she heard me in there, and she opened it, and I was just there in the fetal position, fucking naked. So,
I changed my mind, that's more believable.
okay.
But tell us about the heart stop.
I was out with the same guy actually. This is where it gets confusing. I was out with the same guy. First time ever really drinking heavily. Drank a ton of gin and tonics. Ended up in the hospital. My heart stopped. They had to use the defibrillator.
I think naked in the closet is the truth.
I think naked in the closet is true.
Bullshit. Second one was the truth. Fuckers. I am too good at lying.
You're too good at this.
You do it effortlessly
I
too.
know.
It's worrying. Good. Okay, that's all we've got time for in this little section. We'll see you after a couple of minutes from the commercial break. See you again.
Bye.